What's up, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Mayrand podcast. My guest for this episode is Alexi Godbout. He's been a pro skier for over 15 years, and he has had a really interesting career. From starting off, making a name for himself in competitions in slopestyle, big air, and filming with some of the biggest companies in the business, to having a lot of problems with knee injuries, and in the recent years, moving to Pemberton, British Columbia to focus on big mountain and backcountry. He started his own production company called Blank Collective Films, with which he produced 6 movies now, with the most recent one called Follow the Forecast, which is available on YouTube. It was great to talk to Alexi about his whole career, ranging from the beginning, being picked up by Salomon as a young teen, to now focusing on backcountry and big mountain skiing. I had a lot of fun talking to him, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let's go. Alexi, what's up, man?
Well, we're in Tromla right now at my parents' house.
And there's an helicopter coming to see us.
Maybe a SWAT team coming bust us.
So you're in Tromla?
Yeah, we're in Tromla right now. A little visit. I haven't seen my parents in probably like 10 months, so figured I'd come and come say hello. My sister had a baby, so it was good timing. And I'm going back out west in a couple days.
You've been living in Whistler area?
I've been living in Pemberton for the last 6 years, full time, yeah. And then, 4 years in the same spot, and life is quite good out there, I gotta say.
Well, let's start with, I wanted to talk about your whole career because you've been a quote-unquote pro skier for how long now? Like over 15 years, maybe?
Yeah, probably over 15 years.
Which is a big feat.
Yeah. Well, if you classify being a pro skier getting paid to ski, like 16 years now.
Which is a long, like in any professional sport, 16 years is a long career.
Yeah,
but
especially in skiing,
it's
a
long.
lot of people come and go for sure.
So I wanted to go back to the beginning and go all through it with you.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. You grew up in Tromla, Quebec?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Tromla, Quebec. Actually, exactly in this house my entire life, which is cool. Both of my parents were ski instructors, still are. And
in Tromla?
Yeah. Well, my mom works in Tromla, and my dad used to work in Tromla, but moved on to other things afterwards. And grew up in Tromla. Been skiing around there up until I was probably 14, moving around Quebec a little bit, doing local competitions, and then got picked up by Salomon International and just went upwards from there.
Before that?
Were before
you into racing? Moguls?
Yeah, okay. If we're going through the process, yeah. So I did racing when I was really young, up until I was probably 9. And then I skied moguls for 2 years. And kind of at the same time I was doing park. And I was seeing Phil Poirier in the old park on the south side in Tromla, doing like double backflips and taking off switch and doing switch backflips or switch fives and stuff.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay. Well, I'm just a bit younger than you, but I have a funny story with Phil. Like, I was into the park scene, but just not quite as much when I was like that young age. And I remember I got my first pair of skis that were Rossignol, the green scratch.
Yeah.
And I got them from a ski shop in Tromla, and they were signed by Philou.
And
my big bro was like, "Oh man, it's so crazy. That's Philou Poirier." I was like, "I have no clue who that is, but yeah, that's cool."
Yeah. So that kind of motivated me to get out of moguls. Because anyways, like in moguls, the only thing I liked was the 2 jumps, and then the rest I would had bad technique, and I was trying to go as fast as possible.
I was curious about the whole racing part, because you're a special guy that when I see you skiing, whether it's in the park or in backcountry, you look like someone who knows how to ski.
Yeah.
Like how to make a turn, it really stands out that you know what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I think when I was younger, racing for sure helped a lot, and keeping that base of skiing, like putting your skis on edge properly and just keep that in your head all the time and not necessarily practice it, but do it.
The basics.
And I think I've done it my whole life, and paid off eventually.
So you mentioned you got picked up by Solomon.
Yeah, so I got picked up by Solomon when I was about 11, because my dad was he was sponsored by Solomon through the local rep, and because a lot of ski instructors were sponsored by brands back in the day, because that was kind of a marketing way to get people to buy more Solomon skis. When
you have a lesson and the person's like, hey, what are you skiing?
Honestly, yeah, some of the ski instructors are selling a lot of skis, probably more than athletes are even. Like
you could buy it through them?
Well, you wouldn't buy through them, but they'd bring you to the shop and sell, like, oh, yeah, buy those Solomon skis. Anyways, so, yeah, got picked up by the local rep, and then eventually I was kind of skiing for the Solomon store in Tremblant. And then when I was 14, I went to my first U.S. Open and met the international team manager for Solomon. And then from there on, he saw me ski at the U.S. Open. He's like, okay, like, this kid has potential. And they brought me to France that one summer, and they offered me my first contract. And then
what did that look like? You were like 14, 15?
Yeah, I think it was like 15,000 euros or something.
Damn.
For a 14-year-old, I think that's
crazy.
Kind of my jaw dropped when he told me how much it was going to be. And I was like, wow, okay. And you don't really know money at that age too.
Yeah.
And the previous year, like when I was 14 and not like being on contract like through anything, I won like a couple events and stuff. Actually, my dad was talking about that recently. He's like, you had a weird relationship with money. You like got brought into it just like winning money. He's like, that's what money is. Like you just win it and you have like a couple grand. Okay. But yeah,
that's great timing.
Yeah. And then when I was 14, and then in France, and then the day that they told me that I was going to get signed, and we wanted to celebrate. We were staying with two Polish guys, and they got me absolutely blackout drunk. It's not my proudest memory, but it's definitely one that's going to stay in my mind forever.
So what was your reaction? Because there's a big thing at that age, or when you get your first sponsor, of like validation.
Yeah.
Of saying, okay, I'm worth it. Or
I
don't know how to say it. But it's not only that you're getting free pairs. It's like basically giving you that amount of money, is saying, okay, we're not counting on you, but we want to work with you in the future.
Yeah, we trust you.
Yeah.
I know, but it's cool. Like from 14 on, and I'm still with Solomon. Well, actually 11. So with Solomon, it's almost 19 years now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
To keep a relationship that long. Well, and it looks like it's still going strong.
Yeah, no, it's very strong, and I've got a good relationship with them because I've been with them for a long time, and
you've kind of evolved with the brand.
Yeah, and a good friendship relationship too,
which is great.
Yeah.
So, before the U.S. Open, I don't know if it's before that, but
Côté Obscur.
Not Côté Obscur, Nuit Mountain Dew Nights.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about that because I was thinking about it, and there's a lot of people that came out of Quebec and made a name for themselves, and the one you reminded me of was Seb Toots.
Yeah.
Because for me, there was a point where I would be a local at Avila, and back in the days there were kind of big competitions with a lot of people in attendance and big cash prize, and I remember. Because my point is, Seb Toots made a name for himself. His first big competition was the Shakedown, and he won that at 13. And I remember just going in the crowd after it, and everyone was like whispering about it, like, "Oh, there's a 13-year-old who won the comp." And it was the same thing for you, where we would be in Avila, and everyone was talking about, "Yo, there's this kid, Alexi Godbout. He's doing the sickest switch 1080s."
Mountain Dew Night and Access Slopestyle. Oh my God, you were going back.
How was that for you those days?
I think I was really cocky.
Yeah, well, but as anybody like having that success at that
too
age.
much attention too and whatnot. But no, aside from that, I mean, I had like one really big progression session of like a single day where I learned a switch Cork 7, a switch Misty 9, and a switch Misty 10.
Like your classics for a while.
Yeah, in one day, I just like stepped it up, and from there on, like every single contest was just like you'd always do these tricks and land them every time because you've done them so much. But yeah, at age 14, that was because the Switch 1080 was the hot trick then.
What year was that? Around like 2004,
Yeah,
maybe?
2004, 2005 or something. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you think of that. It's so long ago.
Did you have your classic tweak at that time?
No, I think the mute grab came further along.
It was just
when I was like 16.
about spinning and getting it done.
Spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the year I went, as we talked about earlier, when I went to my first US Open. I accidentally did a Switch 14 and overshot the entire landing.
So you didn't land it?
No.
Was that at the time where TJ won?
Yeah, exactly. That was that year. TJ won the US. Yeah, and then Derek Spong was second. And he was my age, and I was so jealous.
So then, after the US Open, getting up with Salomon, what was the big next step for you?
I feel like after that, there was kind of I wouldn't say a slump, but like you're like going off from all these local events and like winning and like getting used to like being kind of on the higher step. And then when you go to the big boy field, and then you're on the lower end of the spectrum because obviously you're younger and whatnot, but still talented. But
was that the case?
Yeah, I would say so. Like all the guys have more experience and stuff. So like all the US Open and like I didn't get invited to X Games until quite a bit later, but I would try to go on these like more low key events like the Aspen Open or some comps like that. And actually, like when I was 15, I think I got third at the Aspen Open, and then started to get more recognition, and Vermont Open and stuff, and all. There used to be a lot of events when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just getting the ball rolling and kind of try to podium at a couple places, get recognized, and then
made your way slowly.
Yeah, it was slow because there was never a big bang. It was always bits and bits at the time.
Yeah, and as we talked before, there wasn't as much competitions back in the day. Well, there was a lot, but
couple big ones.
Yeah,
and they're like obviously the Olympics were not there, so the goal from like day one when I started free skiing was going to the X Games.
Yeah.
Or
when
like
did
the
that
US
first
Open.
happen for you?
When I was 19. When I was 18, that was the first year of the Dew Tour, and I podiumed at 2 events out of 3 that winter at the Dew Tour. So the next year I was invited to X Games, and didn't do super well. I think I was pretty stressed out. I feel like at Dew Tour was a little less mainstream, that when you were going to X Games with all the cameras everywhere and like a bit more stress because it's the X Games and everyone's like going way harder than they would at any other contest.
Well, let's roll back a bit. You podium at Killington Dew Tour, is that it?
Yeah, it was Killington Dew Tour where I got 3rd, and then JF won.
Yeah.
And then PK 100 was 2nd.
I remember JF's run from that.
Yeah.
I remember it was crazy at the time. Like, did he do like a butter forearm onto a rail?
There
was something about his run that was crazy at the time.
He just went all out on the rails. Yeah. And then the next event, actually Breckenridge was the first one I got 8th. So that qualified me for the second, where I got 3rd. And then the last one was in North Star, California. And there I got 2nd behind Tom Wallish. And that was his first big win. And then he carried on to who he is now.
To dominate. He dominated for
for a long
maybe
time.
4 years straight at that point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, X Games. Not the best start.
No. I feel like X Games for me has always been a bit sour. I've never done really well. Like after my first year I went there, I went back the next year and I had kind of like a half torn ACL and didn't end up competing. And yeah, I feel like I never had much luck going into these events.
Was it, because we'll get to talk about it, but you had a lot of bad luck with injuries?
Yeah.
Was it something related to that for X Games, like bad timing with injuries?
Yeah,
or was
bad
it more
timing. And I was, like, as far as contests go for me, I did well up until a certain point. And, like, every time I'd come back from an injury, I'd, like, do really well at the first event because I was, like, went super hard with my rehab and, like, I was in shape and, like, super motivated. But then as the years carried on, like, I was always kind of behind everyone with all the progression, double corks, triple corks, and all that stuff. And trying to catch up because I was injured so often that, I mean, people would progress, and then once I'd be back, it'd be like, oh shit, like, okay, I'll do my stock run again and hopefully do well.
Yeah.
But.
And then one thing happened is that, is it around 2009, 2010? There was a kind of a shitty day, can we say? And windy, snowy.
It was a very subpar day.
But you managed to land a sick run.
Yeah. And I think I was chubby enough to where I got enough speed. And we had a good wax tech also. But yeah, Dew Tour, Breckenridge, first event of the year. And yeah, stars aligned. I landed all my runs, ended up getting like 94 points or something and winning the event where most people were casing. So maybe it wasn't as legit as like a full Bluebird day, but hey, I won that day, and that's all it's ever going to be. Yeah.
That's where maybe the racing background came into play.
Yeah, maybe edge control and speed for sure.
But that run was definitely sick. Like at that time, even though it was a bad day, it was still a sick run.
Yeah. Thank you.
Plus with the right side Kang.
Right side. That's pretty much the only way I do them anyways. But
yeah, that was your kind of joker card for a bit of like
needed a dub and you had dub.
Yeah. How did that came about?
I don't know. I've always done flares to the left, like to the right.
Because you spin on the left side.
Yeah, I spin left.
And it was at the time of like trying dubs. But your first dub was a right side dub.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was doing flat fives to the right opposed to the left, so that just made sense for me.
Naturally, your flats would be to the right?
Yeah. I can do them the other way too, but it feels more natural to do them to the right for some reason.
Okay. Have you ever done left side Kangs?
Nah, on the water ramps and on the airbag, but I've never actually put it on snow.
Oh.
Yeah, a little too late now.
Yeah. Well, on the PAL could be sick.
Yeah, it could be sick. I feel like I don't have the opportunity to build as many jump sets as I'd like to, but yeah, definitely have a big list of tricks in mind that I'd still want to do. Maybe one day.
That was a good example of like what you went through with your competition career, let's say, that part of your career where you would blow your knee, come back, win an event, but then blow your knee again.
I actually did that year. Well, I wasn't coming off an injury for that one, for the Dew Tour, but right after Dew Tour, second Dew Tour at Killington, I went a bit big on a jump, landed on one leg and like tweaked my knee a little bit. Tore my ACL, I think it was like 50% torn or something. And yeah, there's not much you can do. Skip the rest of the season. That was the time I actually tried to go to X Games with a half blown knee. I just did the practice and it didn't really work out.
How does that go? Do you like get on painkillers or put on a brace?
Advil, wrapping my knee, like doing as much as I could, but because I wasn't sure if it was actually blown or not. And then after X Games, I flew back to Montreal and then got an MRI and it was torn. And then
was that manageable? How was it skiing with a blown knee?
Actually, I ended up skiing most of the season. Well, not most of the season, but like up until the end of March, on a half blown knee, but just locally here in Tremblant. But I think I was partying a bit too much.
One video that was cool, I think, was Wallish's way to the Olympics, where he kind of showed his process leading up to it with the blown knee, and it seemed like such a shitty thing to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a couple guys that skied with blown knees. PK Hunter was one of them. I think at one point he had no ACLs on both knees, probably knee braces. And Russ Henshaw blew his knees a whole bunch of times too. I think even one time his dad gave him a graft from his body, so he wouldn't have to go through the rehab of like rehabbing the graft where they took the ACL graft and then ACL surgery on top of that. So crazy shit we go through.
Looking back at it, now it's been a while.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. How do you look back at those injuries?
I mean, I kind of wished. My dad was telling me when I was younger, he was like, you should train if you want to get better, not get injured. And I was like, you don't know shit. This is free skiing. I'm not going to go to the gym.
I'm 14. I know what's up.
Yeah, 14, or I think my first blown knee, I was 16. And then, but I did go to the gym a lot after that. I was in pretty good shape. And then once I became legal to drink, I think I just started partying a little bit too much. And when, I wouldn't say care as much about working out and stuff, but I think if I would have been a bit more on it and regimented, it would have worked out a little better for my injuries. But hey, live and learn.
But good thing is that you had a career long enough to take those lessons and
move on from them. Yeah. And I've definitely changed my lifestyle a lot since my early 20s, luckily.
But you seem in good shape. Like you seem.
Yeah, no, I mean, go to the gym quite often. I'm pretty active, generally speaking. Mountain bike and do a whole bunch of physical activity on the daily. So
how many blown knees have you had?
4.
2 times each?
No, 3 and 1. And then last time I actually blew my knee was in Alaska in 2015. And made a big hole in my cartilage and then got surgery on that. Was it like 2 years ago now?
How did you manage to get it? I mean, like, was it on skiing a line?
Yeah, I was skiing a line and I kind of got lost in my line. I saw something that was doable. I kind of landed off a little bit and the face ended in like a really abrupt transition at the bottom. And I kind of landed off this like gully gap and got spun around a little bit and just started tomahawking very severely. And I tomahawked to an absolute dead stop at the bottom of the tranny. I just like folded on myself and my knee just exploded.
Did you know it?
Yeah, right away. It was so painful. And then we had to sled out like 40 kilometers. I had to sled out on a blown knee for all the way back to the RV. And it was, quite the experience.
Fun times.
Yeah, it can always be worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes not. But.
As we've seen with a lot of skiers in the past 20 years, that can be a lot worse than a knee.
Can be a lot worse than a knee. Absolutely.
What was your thinking when you got all those knee injuries? Because there's a lot of people that take it. There's some people, like I talked with Belmar, and he was saying like, oh, for me, a knee is not that bad. Like he was seeing it rather like kind of a process of 6 months, Like, I just have to go to the gym and work out and everything will be fine. Versus there's some people that it's like shatters their careers and it's like it really hurts their mental. And
well, I think the whole thing is more of a mental game than anything. I mean, your body does take a big hit, but if you do rehab properly and you have the resources, like if you're talking about Belmont, like he was on the national team for most of his injuries, so you do have resources to like rehab properly and have physios and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for some people, they may see the bigger picture and be like, okay, well, like I want to walk when I'm 50. Is it worth it? Whatever. I mean, we all have our thing.
There's a big financial component of.
Absolutely.
Like if you have enough support, then you can put all your mind into your rehab and.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been lucky with people with contacts and whatnot, and being on the national team for a couple of years too. That definitely helped. But and people supporting me and people helping me out to like rehab and like strength coaches and stuff. So for me, like my injuries, I wouldn't say be a blessing, but almost be a blessing of mental strength, like overcoming obstacles and coming out of them stronger. Definitely.
For each one, you learned a lesson along the way.
I would say so. Yeah.
About yourself.
And I haven't been injured in a while, but still, like, just like regiment myself to like stay in good shape and be balanced and like have a healthier lifestyle. And I think that pays off in the long term. And
in none of those did you have any doubts about
if I would come back or not? No, definitely not.
Of wanting to stop maybe or
maybe like if I woke up in the middle of the night and I was getting stressed out about shit, but then you're like, well, I'll be all better tomorrow morning, and then you forget about it. But yeah, no, for sure. I think about the future and be like, probably going to be hurting, but there might be new technologies to keep me from hurting. So anyways, since I've switched from like skiing park to skiing more backcountry stuff, like I get to choose a bit more of what I do and like my lines and stuff, opposed to being like, okay, this is the competition day. Throw your hardest trick. The conditions are shit. Mm-hmm. Like now, like if I don't feel something, I don't do it. If I feel something, I'm gonna do it. Obviously, like there's a risk factor with that, but it's a bit more under my control than it used to be.
Because you competed for a while. The whole thing of you on a, I don't know, Saturday at noon, you're starting, you're 10th in the starting lineup, and it might be windy, but drop in and you throw what you have to throw and see if you kind of survive.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what competitions are, and it's never really going to change. Like sometimes you see like protests at the start gate because people don't want to compete, and like two athletes are like, oh, I'm still going to do it. Like, fuck you guys. And then the competition still runs and like a bunch of people get injured and like, but yeah, there's a fine line when you're competing. Like perfect conditions are hard to come across always. But yeah.
But were you stoked when that happened, of like the battle of managing to land your run, or was it kind of a not that again?
At that point that's all I'd been doing my entire like free skiing life. So I was totally fine with that, and with the nerves and the mental game and everything, I think it was okay. I wasn't like bothered too much, but I think what really made me switch was injuries and like tired of like always coming back, and not necessarily like, especially at the end of like more of my park stuff, not being able to, I don't know, perform as at a level I would have liked to compete at.
So your fourth knee was in Alaska, like you said?
Yeah.
Your three first ones, were they all in competition?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 2 at the Dew Tour. And then my first one was really stupid. I tried to do switch 9 on like a side hit.
Okay.
It was a really small side hit.
Kind of semi backcountry style?
No. Side hit like on the side of the slope. And just penciled out and then just backslapped.
Seems like an injury waiting to happen.
Yeah, it was stupid. Definitely a stupid one. But as I said earlier, live and learn.
But yeah, those are the worst. Where at the moment you're in the air, or like you just landed, and you're like, why did I just do that?
Yeah. And you talk to friends sometimes and they're like, oh yeah, I was partying and I broke my ankle. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen to me where I was hiking in the woods during the winter, and it had rained 1 or 2 days before, so there was a crust on top.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of a bit drunk, and I wanted to slide on my belly, but then since it was icy, I went a bit too fast and wanted to stop myself, so I pushed with my leg, and it got into the crust, but my body didn't, so my whole body bent.
Oh.
And I didn't blow my knee, but almost, like I wasn't on crutches for 2 months.
Wow.
And at that exact moment, I was like,
that was stupid.
Yeah, well, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Why'd you have to do that?
It's hard to control all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's karma. You probably did something bad before that.
Probably, and then I was good.
Yeah.
So I paid my debt.
Yeah.
So you talked about X Games not being too
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a good result there at one point?
Not really. I think my best result was like 12th or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never made the finals or anything. But no, Dew Tour was really, I think Dew Tour was I don't know. For some reason, I felt more comfortable there. And when I feel more comfortable, I ski better. And
was it something about where it was held? Like, were you more...
I don't think so. I think it was mainly just the whole stress maybe surrounding it. It was a bit less, and I felt more at ease with my, I don't know, demons.
For the injuries, it's a lot of mental game, but might be the same thing with the competitions. Like, if you're in the right mindset, it changes totally how you ski.
No, what really made the difference, when I remember just when I skied well, I knew when I was at the start gate that I would land my run if I like got the first rail. And like once you get past the first rail or something, or a hard trick, and then you're like, okay, the rest is easy. Like the rest is history, and then you make it happen. And I remember at X Games, I was like I'm not gonna land. That was for some reason I was so stressed out.
While you were at like during practice or
I don't know. It's not a highlight for me.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to have gone, but it's definitely not a highlight.
But at least you have highlights at other places. Like it's
for sure.
It's cool to compare now of like Dew Tour where you had a good time versus X Games, and they're kind of close to each other. Like Breck and the Breck Dew Tour, it's like a month apart, so it's basically same time of the season, same. Yeah.
No, there's probably the first year I could have done well, but I think I didn't land both of my runs, and then the year after blown knee. And the year after, didn't ski amazing. I was kind of lacking the trick bag a bit.
Yeah, it was a hard time to get. It's a hard time to get into a rhythm if you're always kind of restarting, like you said. Mm-hmm. How was the progression for you on that side? Because you still managed to keep up, kind of like you weren't at the forefront because you were injured a lot, but you still managed to keep up. How was that for you of getting back from an injury and knowing what everyone was doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously look and you see like guys doing triple corks in practice and all that spiel. But I think I was more trusting that judges would like my grabs and the way I was doing tricks more and my style more than they would care more about the spin to win or triples or whatever. But yeah, once I couldn't keep up anymore, that's kind of when I moved on. And I'm glad I did because life's better.
Oh, well, I'm glad you did too because you're putting out some great stuff with Blank and with Solomon. And it's cool to see the perspective of a park guy that branches off into Big Mountain.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not the only one, but yeah, no, it's a cool transition because there's so many things to learn. And it's kind of humbling too. Like the mountain is way more powerful than when you're skiing. When you think you're the shit skiing in the park, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Not talking shit at all, but no, it's two different worlds. And park skiing is super fucking hardcore, and big mountain skiing is super fucking hardcore. That's all it is.
In different ways, I guess.
In different ways, no, but just higher levels. Like physically, what these guys can do, I'm amazed with, and like physically, what guys can do too, like skiing, like backcountry lines and jumps and stuff. I'm also amazed with. So.
And now it's time for a first sponsor break. Treefort Lifestyles is a company based out of Oregon. They've been involved in the ski industry since their inception in 2011 when they made their first pair of suspenders for skiing. They produce some of the nicest accessories you can find out there for your adventure activities, whether you're going skiing, hiking, or traveling. Plus, I've heard their famous suspenders are making a comeback this winter. Go check them out at treefortlifestyles.com and use code Mayrand at checkout to get 15% off your order. Support companies that support skiing. Support Treefort Lifestyles. I want to talk about kind of the end of your competition career where there was a big new, kind of motivating factor maybe for some guys, which was the Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics.
How was that for you when you got, like, I think it was in 2011?
2011, they made the first slopestyle team for Canada for the Olympics. And who was it? It was Charles Gagné, GFL, Phil Casabon, Vinny Gagne,
maybe ABM.
TJ, Ian Costco, and then girls was like Maude, Raymond, Kaya, Kim Lamar. But yeah, and then the first Olympics, only one guy ended up getting to go, which was ABM, who came on the team a year previously to that.
Yeah, and no Belmar. No you. No one.
No. Well, and I wasn't qualified for any of the events anyways because I blown my knee the year before. So
but was that in your plans to try and go there?
Yeah, I would say so. It would have been cool to go to the Olympics, but I don't think I had the level to make it happen, which I'm okay with. And Yeah. I don't really hold a grudge against that at all. It's just part of the process.
Is it because it wasn't a goal of yours starting off with?
Yeah, I'd say the Olympics had never been a goal up until, like 2011. There's going to be slopestyle at the Olympics. Oh, cool. It's another event. Like, it's obviously the world's biggest stage, but it's never something that I looked up to as a kid. And for me, like, the meaning of free skiing wasn't the Olympics. It was the X Games and all the core events and all this, like the events that the guys I was looking up to were doing at the time.
And how did the process of qualifying go for you?
Not very good. I always did well at like one event and then would absolutely just do really bad at the other. So it was always one good event, all the rest was shit, and then I'd kind of get tossed on the B team. And then, yeah, from there I got cut from the national team. And, yeah.
That was a weird thing, the B team. Like, there was an A team and a B team.
B team. And then,
I don't think that's something that still exists.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah. It has to do with carding. So the athletes are carded by the government or from Freestyle Canada. They're getting a certain amount of money if you're on the A team, a certain amount of money if you're on the B team, and if you're on the A team, all your travels and stuff are all...
It's like different
comped.
levels of sponsorship.
Pretty much. Like, it's your silver level sponsorship and your gold level sponsorship, but that's pretty much what it was like with the national team, at least when I was there.
But either way, you can still, like, say you're on the B team, but you get sick results, you can still go to the Olympics. And, like, there's there's no step.
It's not like, oh, like, you're on the A team, you're going to the Olympics. No, it's like you have to qualify. Everybody has to qualify to go to the Olympics.
It's all a matter of points.
Yeah. And then, like, tactically, I think the coaches and stuff have a say to who goes as well over results, potentially.
Did that surprise you that there was only one person selected for Sochi?
I mean, he's the only one that had the criteria to...
On my outsider perspective, I'm not sure of it, but I heard that there was a limited number of participants.
Of spots.
Yeah,
allowed.
For the whole of freestyle,
And
which was
per country
moguls
as well.
and aerials and
that's
everything.
definitely what it was. But yeah, so if they think they have more chances of medals, of sending 4 mogul guys, 3 aerials, and whatever, then it limits the spot of people that can go for slopestyle or halfpipe.
I remember being a big free ski fan and not a fan of aerials, let's say. Being bummed of saying like, oh, well, I know we have Alexi and Belmar and whoever. We have great skiers, but we're sending like, I don't know, a lot of people in other sports that I didn't care about. But
yeah, but that's just your personal judgment too. For them, like they all, like for Freestyle Canada, if they get medals, then there's more money next year from the government and whatnot. So on and on. So yeah, medal count.
That's what you get on the news every day. Yeah. So today we're
the medal
5th.
Count. Yeah, that's all as important for the Olympics for sure.
It's the whole hype of, well, in the last Olympics we had 20 medals. Now are we gonna?
We need 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the funny thing that actually happened when we were like previously to the Olympics. So I knew like my time in like slopestyle and whatnot was kind of over, and I was pretty close with GF. So was one of the coaches at the time. And we're kind of like trying to picture the next step, and we're like, oh, as they knew I was like pretty fast and whatnot. He's like, maybe you should go to like skier cross, and I don't know. I could have seen myself going into skier cross and doing okay, because I've like done it when I was younger, and I was actually kind of good. But it's a whole different story if you're competing against guys that are like 6'2" and just
that shit seems gnarly.
Fast machines. And the other option was like, well, I could go and try to keep my sponsors and like transit to like doing more backcountry and like big mountain stuff. And that really talked to me a lot. So that was kind of the motivational factor to, even if I like was getting paid more or paid less, sorry, like through my sponsors and kind of taking a bit of a lifestyle hit, I still had this idea in mind that I could make it into skiing powder and big mountain skiing and whatnot, and I'm really glad I made the move.
So is it Cusson who made the inception in your mind of going towards that?
A little bit. A little bit.
Because you never had like, it was hard to have like segments in movies because you were injured a lot, but you always had presence in movies every year, like with Poor Boys, with Playhouse, and then smaller companies from Quebec.
Yeah.
But in those parts, you never did powder per se. Well, a bit.
No, I did. Actually, my first big part, I would say, which was with, kind of a blank here. So my first big part was with Playhouse. I mean, I obviously did some stuff before that, but like where my sponsor paid for me to be in the movie was with Playhouse for Schematic. And my part in there was the first time I actually did a little backcountry trip. I went to California. Phil Bélanger and Thomas Rinfret, they picked me up at the airport, and then had some jump built for the next day, and then went and I think I did like a right 3, left 3, switch 5, cork 7, and then we filmed a bit of other stuff around the area. And I didn't even have park shots or like jump shots.
I totally forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
That's such a classic.
Yeah, but I've always done a little bit of backcountry stuff, even throughout my park stuff, but definitely less. But then at least I knew like that I liked it, and I could picture myself doing it. So yeah, doing the move wasn't too hard of a mindfuck.
And now it's time for a second sponsor break. Access Board Shop is a ski and snowboard shop based out of Saint-Sauveur, Quebec, Canada. They've been in business since 2002 and have supported skiing since day one. From sponsoring numerous athletes to putting on competitions to helping out movie productions, they've done it all. Axis is the core board shop, and they've got everything that you might need this season. Check them out at axisboutique.com or go check out their shop in Saint-Sauveur. Support companies that support skiing. Support Axis Board Shop. You had a big couple of years in between your come up as a young kid and your move to powder, where you did a lot of urban trips for movies. How was that for you?
Urban was fun. It was kind of a good break of competing in the winter. I mean, it's sometimes between competitions, I'm sure, if you got injured or whatever. I mean, it's all part of free skiing. It wasn't like now, like the big machine that is FIS and whatnot. Like the team, if you go get injured, if you're on the national team and get injured, like doing urban skiing, they're going to be pissed. And yeah, I didn't have that overhead stress back then. So if you're doing urban, it was kind of a nice break of not competing and doing other stuff. So that was cool.
I know that a lot of people were looking forward to filming the most. Like I know JF Full. Well, I think JF Full was one of those guys where he wanted to go and film more than compete.
Yeah, because he was, again, you're on your own schedule and you choose to be creative the way you want to be creative and hit setups you want to be hitting.
Is that something that you were looking up to, like when you were doing a lot of competitions? Which one was your favorite between going on and do tour and everything or filming urban stuff?
I think I like competing more than urban. I mean, I like doing urban, but I had a lot of fun doing competitions and pushing myself a little bit. And urban, it was fun. Definitely, it's satisfying to see a good shot of yourself. But it was all good times. Either it was competing or urban. I had fun doing all of that.
You should do a 3-minute edit of all your best urban shots. Because you never had a full part, but it was always great shots.
Yeah, a couple of shots here and there.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah, it'd be fun to make.
Godbout urban edit.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Yeah. And the last year I did urban was 2014, I think.
For the last Poor Boy movie?
No. For JF's movie Hooligan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was so sick.
Yeah, it was super good.
How was that for you?
That was fun. JF's one of my best friends, so just went to Quebec City and shot for 2-3 weeks or something. Because at that point I wasn't on the national team anymore and not qualified for any events. And I knew I kind of wanted to like switch to POW, but it was shit in BC and Jeff was filming in Quebec, so
you really were in that in-between phase.
Yeah, definitely. That year was like super in between. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't really sure if it was going to work or not, but I pushed through.
The shots that came out of that movie were so sick. Like it seemed like there was special at that time of Charles. You were with Charles Gagne,
Yeah.
JF, yourself, and Vinny.
Yeah,
Vincent Gagne.
exactly.
And Charles had a lot of bangers, but it was crazy because I feel like he was really on the end of his career at that point.
Definitely, yeah.
But still, like throwing down.
And I was talking to Vinny the other day, and I was like, "How?" Because I haven't talked to Charles in a while, actually. Like, he has a lot, like 3 kids now.
3 kids.
Yeah, and yes, I don't really keep up very often. I should, but I was like, "Oh, what's Charles doing? Like, does he still ride park in the winter and stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, like he goes ride alone and like does switch 450s and stuff." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, that's sick."
That's crazy because I never really, I don't know him personally, but he always seemed like someone really mellow. So
Yeah, super mellow, kind of
it's
laid
crazy,
back.
like the contrast of being that mellow and going into the park in your 30s.
Yeah, like say you have him and Simon Dumont next to each other. And Simon was like on the total other end of the spectrum than Charles, like all out there and like loud and whatnot and super competitive. And then yeah, Charles on the other end is like super low key. He was like kind of like saying hi, but wasn't talking to many people unless you're French Canadian.
Mm-hmm. And how was that? Seeing JF put on a project on his own, because I don't think he really had any support from companies or anything. Like it was a passion project, 2-year project that came out really great, telling a story which was different than most ski movies.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Did it inspire you for Blank and what was to come?
For sure. And seeing Jeff so passionate about it and Paul who helped him. Yeah. I think storytelling is probably one of the hardest thing to do in the film world, and I think they did it quite well. That movie was freaking awesome, and I think he got a couple awards for it, and were super well deserved. So that was cool.
Was that an inception for you in your mind of wanting to do your own projects like that, or did you already have that in mind?
I actually didn't really have that in mind of doing my own projects. It was more the first year we did Blank was because a bunch of us didn't have any sponsors to film with, or no sponsors or film companies to film with, and it kind of just stumbled upon itself. So where a bit of money there from sponsors and travel budgets and stuff, and ended up filming an entire season and putting a movie together. And then from there on, it was like, okay, well, maybe this could work. And so tried it again the next year. And then the more it went, the more it became something.
So you made the move in late 2015 to move to Whistler?
No, not late 2015. So that was in 2014 before I was talking about that urban trip with JF. Mm. So in 2014, I did a heli trip with Solomon right over New Year's. And it was at CMH Monashees. And basically had an awesome time. And we're driving back middle of the night. And I remember I was talking to Jeff Thomas, who I'm working with a lot now, and Mike Douglas and some other guys. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not competing this year. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to see some powder because this is fucking awesome. I don't think I want to do anything else than ski pow. And that's really what I'm into. And then Jeff Thomas, who I work with a lot, was like, hey, like, you could just stay at my house. I got an extra room. Like, you just pay me a bit of rent and we'll call it even. And I was like, cool. Well, I guess I'm moving to BC and I'm buying a snowmobile. And that's exactly what I did. And then 6 years later, I still live here.
That's sick. When did you know that powder was the thing that you were into? Because for a lot of skiers, I think it's something you discover as a Quebec guy who grows up and skis park and everything like that. Did you always love
Yeah, I always
powder?
kind of loved it. And always, like every year I would do a little trip or a couple of days of like going out in the backcountry with some friends or filming with Solomon or whatever it was for Solomon Free Ski TV or something. I always knew I kind of liked it, but it was kind of frightening. Or the perspective and obviously being comfortable in the mountain was on its early stage at that point. And yeah, the more I grew into it, the more I loved it. And yeah.
So you already knew that you were into it going to Whistler, or you kind of discovered
No,
it?
I definitely knew I was into it.
So first winter, you're living at Jeff Thomas' place.
Yeah, first winter I lived with Jeffy.
And that's where you put all your shot together and put your first movie, which was Blank.
No. That's
Not even?
that year I didn't do that much. I did that urban stuff with JF. I actually did more urban stuff for Solomon Free Ski TV. And then filmed some stuff for Intersection, and then I went out a couple of times with some friends and just went snowmobiling. And then it's the next year I decided we were making a project, so 2015. And then that's when Blank kind of started.
That year, you hired a filmer, or you did it all on your own?
We hired a couple of filmers, yeah. So we had some budget, and then hired a bunch of different filmers and drone guys and stuff to put all that stuff together, and made it happen like that, and just kind of freelancers.
And how did the season go? Like, did you have a plan of what you wanted to do, or it was just
not really? We knew we wanted to go to Japan and then to Europe, but we were kind of playing it with the weather. Like, I mean, we still kind of do that. We have way more of a plan now and kind of destinations in mind, but definitely playing the weather a lot. And you got to be, it's powder skiing, so you're always a bit last minute because you're not really sure if is it going to work, is it not going to work. But anyways, that year, went to Japan, went to Europe, and after Europe, we came back to Whistler for 1 week, and then we headed up to Alaska. And actually, funny story, when we were in Whitehorse, which is in Yukon, we were staying with Ian Costco because he lives up there now. And our filmer hadn't backed up any drives at that point, but he had the hard drives with him, like with us, basically.
Yeah, I saw an article about that today.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, but tell me, it's so crazy.
Anyway, so we go to breakfast in the morning, and then for some reason, our filmer brought the backpack in the car, and then Ian forgot to lock the car, and then we get out of breakfast, and then we get back to the RV, like we rented the RV and everything, we're loading it up, and then the filmer's just going back and forth looking for the backpack, but we don't know what he's looking for, and we're like, hey, what are you looking for? He's like, oh, it's my backpack. And then he keeps looking. He's like, we can't leave if we don't have the backpack. I'm okay. We're like, what's in the backpack? He's like, all the hard drives from like the season. We're like, okay. So now we're on red alert and everybody's looking for the backpack. And figured out that it gotten stolen when we went to breakfast in the morning. And so we started going through Whitehorse, putting up flyers with like a $500 reward. And
Whitehorse, a small town.
Yeah, it's somewhat small, and there's like some pretty sketchy areas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And so I started going around asking people, and like, I don't know, people are fucking weird. And then there's a phone number on the reward flyer. And then Ian, I think it's like 7 p.m. We've been looking for a couple hours. Everybody's like, okay, like, I guess we're not making a movie, like, fuck us, like, it's not gonna work. And then we get a number, Ian gets a call, and there's a guy saying he's got the backpack, and we gotta meet him at whatever bar. And there you go, meet him.
Seems like such a movie story.
Go meet him, and then our filmer was like, okay, well, I'll give you half the money now, and then you show me what's in the backpack. And then the drives were there, but there was like a computer charger that was gone, which is kind of whatever. At that point, you're like, as long as we get the hard drives back. And got the drives back in, I think it was in a trash bag or something. And that was kind of a stressful part. But then it led on to some great big mountain days on Haines Pass.
That's such a crazy story because it seems like there's a lot of sketchy things like that people do in the ski world where you're pushing your luck to the fullest.
No, not backing up. That's
I'm gonna invest all my season, but then I'm not gonna do a backup just.
Well, it was kind of our fault too. We never asked for him to do it because we were so green. I didn't know really what we're doing, so it was like whatever. We figured he did, but yeah, that was funny.
At least you got it.
And kind of scary. But yeah, at least we got it back.
That must have been so stressful the whole day of.
Yeah, everybody was super on edge
just
and kind of snappy.
trying to breathe, but at the same time,
Yeah, definitely.
it's not as if like you're going home to breathe. Like you're still in your RV with the guy and being pissed.
No, it was fine afterwards. Can't hold a grudge for too long.
No, but even like if it ends well, it's okay. But
If not,
like,
yeah. that
if
would've been
not, it's a
one.
shitty place to be.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Anyway, so this ended well. You did a backup and at a movie.
No, we got everything. We like put a movie together. Actually, Casey Dean was kind of more directing that summer because I had blown my knee in Alaska on that trip, and so I was back in Quebec rehabbing, and so he kind of did all the directive work and took care of putting the movie together with the editor and whatnot. And then the next year we're supposed to work together on the next project, and then he ended up filming with Level 1, so I just ended up moving kind of all the direction process on my own, and then just carried on like that.
So was that the point where you founded Blank Collective per se?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, it was Casey and I the first year, and then he didn't continue working with us afterwards. And then Stan came along the second year for Canvas, and then we kind of teamed up after that together.
So when talking about Blank as an entity, it's Stan and you behind it? Or?
Yeah, Stan and I, and then we have Jeff Thomas that's helping us a lot, kind of as a freelancer and one of our good friends.
He's such a great filmmaker.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, he's one of my favorite filmmakers in skiing.
I really appreciate working with him because he's kind of a mentor as well, so I get to learn a lot from him and how to talk to sponsors and how to say, like, talk in meetings and whatnot, and kind of just the whole thing of like putting a proposal together and editing, filming techniques, whatever it is. Like, he knows it all, so, and he's extremely fast.
He has his own style that you really recognize. Like when you went to Solomon Frisky TV, you could see that it was different.
Yeah, 100%.
When he went to Poor Boys, that was like their best movies.
Yeah.
If I find. Well, for me, that is a bit younger.
Every Day's a Saturday.
Yeah.
And Revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before that, I was looking, before talking to you, at older movies, and I got to rewatch Journal. That was
Theory 3.
That's something I was telling my girlfriend, who is not as knowledgeable, is that movie didn't have the biggest budget, like way far from a big budget, and not the biggest tricks or anything, but it's a movie that I could rewatch any day because I don't know,
really
it
well
just
put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vibe is good.
Yeah, good music. Entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what we've kind of put ourselves into, is making content that's really entertaining and just to get people stoked for winter.
Yeah, well, I think there was a point when ski movies were taking themselves a bit too seriously.
Too seriously.
And like
just
kind of
searching for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And kind of mocking a bit the fun kind of strategy of a movie. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
like,
as you're going to ski with your buddies, and that's what you do, is go to have fun. So might as well put that into a ski movie and make people even more stoked.
It's the most relatable thing.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. And yeah, I think there's a future in doing that also. Like, there's a future in making awesome documentaries and like doing some storytelling, but there's also a future in making, like, keeping skiing rad and fun.
With YouTube getting bigger, there's a big opportunity to showcase skiing to a lot of people with that. And that's what gets people into it. Like, I love the step movies, but that's not what a casual skier will get into.
Absolutely. I think we're in a place right now to where we entertain more of the mass. Because, I mean, people love watching powder skiing and gets them stoked to go. Even, I mean, whether they can or cannot go in the powder or whatever, it's something they can look forward to because it's more relatable maybe. But, yeah.
But there's something special about that where, like, let's say in Quebec, a lot of people have never rode.
Like bottomless powder.
Yeah, never. But they see it.
But you're still frothing to actually do it.
There's still something, like, exciting about it.
Absolutely. And that's why you get excited when it snows 20 centimeters and you get the first chair. Like, that's why people are stoked.
It's like, as good as it gets in Quebec is like, you'll have snow on top of your boots and you'll be like, that's the best day ever.
Yeah, because you're not skiing on ice. And that was the same when I was a kid. I was so stoked if I could ski a little bit of powder. No, it was definitely a thing when I was young. But yeah, just entertaining and making it fun. That's kind of the motto.
So since then, you've made 4 movies.
6 actually now.
6 total.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
Plus, you started at a time when I guess the ski movie hype was going down with all the people doing their own projects like B-Dog and other people. And like Poor Boy stopped making movies. A lot of companies stopped. So you started at a point when it could seem like a bad idea to do that.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely see a future in keep on keeping on, basically, of making kind of these yearly projects. Maybe it's going to adapt and we'll do a different concept, let's say, but definitely do enjoy filming and skiing a lot. And so does Jeff. And so does a lot of people love to watch skiing. So I think there's a demand for it, and it'll keep being a demand because people are very happy and very stoked about skiing powder when there is powder around. And yeah, if we can keep motivating people to get out there, we'll keep doing it. And if the budgets come along, obviously.
Well, with the quality productions that you're doing, I feel like it's going to keep going because you're putting out something that is top notch, really.
Thank you.
Like the whole production value. That's the thing. When I was kind of always, I don't know, when I saw a lot of people doing their own project, I found it kind of, I don't know how to say it.
It was missing something.
It was missing something. Like you knew that they were putting in their all, but maybe the filming wasn't really on point, or the editing, or both. And it's just something hard to do.
Absolutely.
And if you're on your own and you're not necessarily a pro filmer, well, no shit that it's going to be hard. And so props to you, because that's something hard to put out.
Yeah, thank you.
To get the whole thing going. Not just the skiing.
There's a lot of components to making a project successful, and we're definitely getting better at it. Yeah, I think we're getting pretty good at it. And is having the right crew, knowing the right people, and working with the right people and working in the right direction.
Kind of becoming a production company of your
pretty
own.
much. Yeah, we're definitely we are a production company now, for sure.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Is that something that you thought you would do when you were younger?
Not 5 years ago, but it evolved into this, and I'm super happy that it has, because now it's giving me even more of a purpose than just being a skier, is kind of being a bit of a filmmaker as well, which I could see myself doing in the future.
When you're getting to a point in skiing where you're such at a high level, it kind of becomes an art, let's say.
Yeah.
But then you can broaden that into other spheres.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and especially when you like picture something in your head and actually make it happen on film, I think that's super cool. I mean, that's why people are directors, and that's why people make really cool projects happen. But yeah, with Jeff, like, we have brainstorms and stuff, and like really try to think of intricate ideas to like how to put things together, and definitely work pretty good together.
Your movie this year, Follow the Forecast.
Yeah. So basically, we made a movie this year called Follow the Forecast, and which is kind of a funny title because we all do follow the forecast anyways. But it was kind of a cool concept.
Skier.
Yeah, as skiers at least.
Yeah.
And surfers or whatever. So it applies to a lot of things, but we're trying to make it a bit more of a concept. Like, the forecast is a bunch of different things. It's not just powder. It can be like, I don't know, we have one segment with Cody Townsend where it's shit snow, but we're still attaining a goal of like the forecast lined up for this, you know? So
is it in relation with his series about
yeah. So we did a collab with Cody, and then have a bunch of other segments that are super cool as well. Deep Pow, Big Mountain, whatever it is, and it's super entertaining again, funny, and high action.
Is it a bit like chronological, a bit like real time, like
it's not really. It's not real time, but it's a bit themey, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can we expect? Where did you travel?
Okay, so we, unfortunately with COVID, got our winter cut kind of in half, but we're lucky enough that we had really good conditions in BC prior to that. So it's pretty much BC based. And then Josh Jack has a segment in Lake Tahoe where he went super hard, and it's kind of heartfelt at the same time too. We kind of tell a bit of story on him and his family. And action-packed, super entertaining, funny, and I think everybody's going to be stoked to go watch it.
Talking about COVID that split the winter, how was that for you in terms of a production? How did that affect you in terms of the plans you had, the trips?
Yeah, we're
like
bummed
that?
for sure. We're supposed to go to Alaska and actually have 2 trips in Alaska planned, 1 trip to Mount Baker to go build some jumps. But at the same time, we're all in the same boat. And like whatever, like a bunch of other productions were in the same boat, and everybody on Earth were in the same boat. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Couldn't change anything about it. And we're going to make a movie anyways with the footage that we had, and it worked out awesome. So
since it's online release movie, you don't have a constraint of having a certain run time, or
exactly
you do what you do.
Yeah, we did what we did and came up with what we came up, and I'm super stoked to what we came up with.
So what are your plans for next winter?
Oh, you're gonna have to see.
Oh, secret?
Yeah, so far it's not, I mean, we have some plans, but there's still need to be worked on.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to talk to you during the winter.
Sure do.
Thanks for having me. Well, thanks for having me. I'm saying that because I'm at your place, but thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Glad
Thanks
to
for
talk
having
to you.
me.
That's it for episode 2. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. I want to give a big shout out to this episode sponsors, Axis Boutique and Treefort Lifestyles. Go check them out. And I also want to give a big shout out to Alexi for coming on the podcast. It was great chatting with him. See you all for the next episode. Peace.